Hey man, is this a simulation or are we actually doing the podcast?
This is going to be a 50-minute podcast simulation for next Monday's podcast.
Okay, that's going to give me a lot more confidence.
Yeah, a lot more confidence. Yeah, I'm not. I've decided that I'm not going to go there today.
Okay.
I really want to, but I feel like today my ability to hold back would be just not capable.
Whoa.
So I think I would go into I feel like if I went into it today, I would come across more like Trump's Twitter feed than a little bit longer and lengthier thought out explanation of why specific things probably aren't the greatest idea when it comes to training and big weekends for Ironman races. So I've just decided that I'm gonna let it go.
Oh shoot! I was hoping I could just lay it out there and give you the floor.
No, man.
50 minutes, and I'll set the headset down.
Go out, walk Maddie, come back, see if you can still hear me from the door blaring through the speakers, and then you'll know you're in good shape. No, I think I've said my piece where I need to say it. And hey, and listen, the most important thing is the athlete. Bar none. Period.
Yeah.
The most important thing for any coach that's out there that coaches that is, I think, of sound mind, body, and
spirit.
A definite spirit. It's always about the athlete. It's never about the coach. And you should always look out for the athlete's well-being. Always. 100%, no matter what. You should be not just on looking at their best interests athletically / physically, but most importantly, mentally and emotionally, which you can multiply that to, their sustainability and longevity within the sport. It's not like, like you can't just go through and just use an athlete and throw them away like you're never going to have them again. Like a one and done. Or you can't treat people like that. And here I go. See, you knew if you just slow things, you'd hear me going. But I'm going to make this calm and collected. And so, for those of you that aren't aware, this is the Crushing Iron Triathlon podcast, not a Twitter rant feed. But we just had a question that came up yesterday in our closed Facebook group. If you're not on it, you can search Crushing Iron Group on Facebook. And it was a question about, what I would deem just an exceptionally off the charts asinine training weekend. But I'm not going to go into it anymore, but all I'm going to say is my main reason behind not going into it further is because I know that the athlete that the subject was brought upon is a podcast listener, and the main thing this athlete needs to know is that there's still 2.5 weeks left before your big day, and there's still time to freshen up. And the most important thing for you now is to not have doubts, but to have fun. Remember why you're doing it. Remember that why you're there, that you've put in a lot of good training, and that remember how you got there. And no training goes on perfect, but there's no need to have negative thoughts or that, because athletes do this a lot. They miss one session or they think they overdo one session, and all of a sudden it ruins. Those thoughts bring in, if you allow those thoughts to come in to your mind leading up to the race, and they're gonna trickle in during the race. You have one bad 5 or 6 mile stretch and your legs just don't feel right, which I think everybody has that feeling no matter what. If they're doing a long race, like at some point they're just going to feel like crap when it's a long day. But what you don't want is you don't want thoughts that are going to come into your head that see, it was that day you missed. See, it was that day you didn't work out. And then, or B, see, it was that session you went too hard and now you don't have the legs for it. Like, you don't want to go back on any of that. You just got to be confident and, and look at it and listen, it's still got 2.5 weeks to freshen up. I still got great things to do. I want to have fun. And that's how you should look at it. And so that's my, I don't coach this athlete specifically, but that's how you should look at it. And you should always have the athlete's well-being, emotionally, mentally, and physically first. Mm-hmm. Always. It's like, if for some reason, like, a lot of coaches are also athletes, and so a lot of athletes have this like. That had this look at me, persona of look at the workouts I did that are epic. If they end up coaching, or should I say like not coaching, I say you should like delivering training to athletes, take that kind of same mentality of look at me and look what I've had my athletes do in these epic days. Like they take that into their thing. It's very common, but I think that. I think most of my athletes would hopefully agree that we don't ever have any of those ever.
It sounds like that one Russian coach, the gymnast guy, a little bit.
Yeah, I don't know if it's a good time to talk about Russia on the airwaves.
I'll scramble that.
So I think the biggest I do a lot of double ride weekends, and there is no secret sauce. It's like, and you should be very. Open with how you coach and what you do. Like there is no secret. None of it's like fancy. Nobody has like a secret recipe. It's all pretty. It should be at least all pretty standard. But it's that. So a lot of athletes turn into coaches, or like that's their thing. Like they just want that to happen. So you should always take the athlete first, and that goes for every race. And just like the day-to-day struggles of like, I'm trying to think, like, I don't really know, and I'm sure, and I'm 100% confident I'll have an athlete remind me if I did do this, that I tell an athlete to, like, push through and keep going, or toughen up and get out there, because, listen, like, every athlete knows themselves better than you know them, but sometimes you just kind of also need to look and see, like, big picture, reading between the lines, like what really needs to happen, and it's not. Listen, you might think that workouts are sexy and epic workouts are like attractive and look great on Instagram, but I can tell you one of the greatest things I feel about as a coach is when I tell an athlete to not work out, to not push through, or to give them a day off. And I think I've done it like multiple times this morning already. Not a day off, but reading, I've got a bunch of athletes that are, I think six or seven that are gearing up for Ironman Wisconsin, and they're all in like totally different places. Like I've got a guy that's trying to get back onto the podium that was on it last year at Wisconsin. I've got people doing it for their first time. I got people coming back for redemption, and so I've got everybody in between. And so everybody's kind of a different like cycle of like where they are, because that's everybody's different lives. And this morning, I think twice already, I took away a session tomorrow, because even though we're still 2.5 weeks out, like one extra session here isn't going to make or break you. It could, well, that's not true. It could make you, or it could break you. But the thing is to make sure like you're trending on the side of freshening up and unloading versus not. And so I think every single athlete that I have, I've made adjustments in the last like 48 hours for like their week, and like taking something away, which they won't like, but in the same breath, they say they don't want you to take away the session. They're also saying how tired they are. Because that's just how athletes are. But I also have like a couple that I work with, Stuart and Meg Rogers, who are gearing up for a big race this weekend. And it got canceled because they're in a part of the country where that's I think getting some pretty good flooding there. And so she was like, just let me know what you want to upload for the weekend. The race is canceled, and he's been traveling, she's been traveling. So I think it's been like 3 or 4 weeks, I think, since they've like been at home together as a family, not had anything. And so I just told them to take Saturday and Sunday off, take some family time.
Yeah.
And so I erased all their workouts for the weekend and specifically put in like custom, family time weekend off. And they would have done whatever I asked, but like that wasn't the time to like load up. It was like, all right, let's do a 48-hour reset and let's look at it's always about the long game.
Yeah.
Always. Like, unless you're retiring and your bike's already on eBay and you're quitting your next race, it's always about the long game. You're always in progress until the day you retire and the day you hang up your cleats and your swim goggles and your run shoes. Until the day you do that, you are always in progress. And you have to just be very, very careful, because you run the risk of breaking people. And that, and that's like one of the like the more stressful aspects of coaching, is that you have that power. Like, because people trust you and they listen to you and they want to know that everything you say is for the good. And I mean, admittedly, 90% of the complaints I get as a coach are, I don't think I'm doing enough. From athletes, it's not too much. But sometimes you have to ask, because I mean, I have an athlete that's doing Chattanooga and she's had some foot issues the last few months. And I've just been admittedly so, I've just been kind of babying her along the way with tons of riding and swimming. But I just shot her a text and said, hey, listen, I want you to know that I'm, as you can see, I'm playing it a little bit careful with your foot, but I'm more about like long-term success and longevity than this one specific race. Because like, to me, and this is how hopefully athletes and coaches look at it, one race doesn't define you. Whether your athlete has a good race, a great race, or a bad race, it still doesn't define you. And the same should go for an athlete. One great race and one bad race, neither one of those define you. It's all about consistency and what you do on a consistent basis and what you put out on a consistent basis, how much you love the sport, how far you go within it, because you're only going to go far if you love it. If you're going to get burnt out or injured, you're not going to be able to enjoy it. So you should always look at the long game. And I do. I tend to take it a little bit, careful, but these are people we're talking about. Like, people, like it's like the most underrated aspect or underappreciated or talked about aspect of coaching, is that some of these athletes would just go out and do it if you told them to. And that's the scary part, that athletes would, if you just put in, all right, go run 26 miles, a lot of athletes would just do it. No matter how tired they are, they would just put their body through hell because you told them to. And it's just a fine line between, breaking and tearing down a little and rebuilding. It's tough, but we should always have the athlete's best interest in heart, not what's going to go on my coaching resume. It's ridiculous.
All right.
That was a little longer than 140 characters, but that's all right.
I thought you handled that well. I think that
it wasn't nearly rantish as I was prepared to go.
No, but we're not done.
But ultimately, the biggest point I wanted to get across was for this athlete, that this isn't doomsday. Okay, this isn't doomsday. You
right,
still
which
got
is
this.
a great thing. Yeah,
you're still going to do great. There's still many ways to formulate a recipe for success. So keep your chin up, get after it, have fun, and it's still going to be a great day.
For sure. Yeah, I mean, I'm feeling you on that. I mean, it would be easy to sort of downplay something that's gone on and like over what we consider maybe quite a bit over the necessary needs.
Everyone considers it.
Yeah, and I think what you're saying about the coaching is really important, because even now that I'm back on your I talked about this last time, but I've been kind of wild westing my training a little bit because I kind of have a general idea, and there's certain ideas of general fitness that I had in mind, and of course I've done a handful of Ironman before, so I wasn't concerned about that. I knew that I was looking for certain levels of fitness, and now that we're 2 months out, I wanted to dial that in a little bit. So I'm back on the clean training plan, and even that, when I see a workout there, I know that it crosses my mind that I'm doing this workout and you're going to see it, and everything's and even though we're really tight and good friends, and you would totally kind of chuckle if I said I didn't feel like doing something. But it's still in there. That's like, and there's that piece of like coach-athlete relationship that you want to, satisfy your coach, and you want to, do something for your coach, and that's a little bit of the power of coaching, and I think it's a great thing, until it starts being, like you said, at all costs. Like if you're out there running with like a sprained ankle or something just because you want to get a workout in or whatever the case is, that's probably not a healthy relationship with your coach. You know what I mean? So, it's just that like yesterday I went out and I remembered halfway through the run that the run was longer than I thought it was. I was like, part of me was going, I thought it was a 50-minute, cruise, and I'm like, all right,
you had
cool.
1:15 yesterday, I think.
Yes, I did. And 32 minutes in, I went, wait a minute, did that say 1:15? And of course, I don't have anything programmed in my watch. And I was like, yeah, it did say 1:15. So I had to regroup and suck it up, and and I immediately slowed down. I was like, wait a minute, I wasn't going fast, and then I even slowed down even further. So I just think that as far as an athlete relating to a coach, and I think all this stuff kind of comes back to having confidence in yourself, and like you're saying, just feeling good. You don't want to go out and like training for Ironman. I think has a misconception that you're just always going to be wiped out, and it's just like this insane journey that you're training 20 plus hours a week and all that stuff, and then you get to the race and you don't know what's going on. So now, you hear people sometimes will have, they'll end up kind of doing the whole thing or something before they do it. It's like people don't climb Mount Everest before they do it. They just get ready for it. And then that race day, that's part of the adventure. It's part of the trusting the process and relaxing, right? I've been thinking about relaxing a lot lately because I've been swimming a lot more than normal, and for me that's where it always translates. The more I swim, the more I can learn to relax when I swim, the better I swim. And that translates across all three disciplines. It translates across life, everything. I mean, if you're swimming and all you see is a flurry of water cascading your face, and like everyone around you seems like they're swimming in fast motion and in the skyline, and you're always correcting your way, that's not a good way to swim, because you should be able to, like feel like it's slow motion. That's when you're most effective, I think, in the water and on the bike and running. You always hear about it. It's like fluid. Athletes,
feeling fluid or things slow down for you.
Right, that's what I was going to say. In college sports, you always hear it all the time. The dude becomes a sophomore or it's junior. He's like, man, you're having a great year. What's going on? Well, things are slowing down for me. And that's the exact same principle that needs to be taken into Ironman. And so much of that is just relaxing.
Mm-hmm.
And, and especially because you're not having to worry about, a 300-pound lineman coming in and crushing you. It's just like you're out riding a bike, just relax. And it's amazing how your body and everything transforms into that moment, and you end up doing better than you think, and it's easier.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's but again, it's a learning curve. I mean, most times you can always tell if it's the first time or second or third, but it's like regardless of like the distance of your race, the closer you get into proximity of that race, the more you should relax or try to relax, which is the total opposite of what most people do. They, and that's like something that I tried to get across to an athlete that I've got that's doing Chattanooga, and she was talking about being so tired, and I think I said, let's say, because she commented about the podcast we did on fatigue, and on Monday, and I'd say, what else is tiring and exhausting? Obsessing over a race or a result or a time or a place.
Yeah.
Because that is what so many athletes do. The closer they get to any race, again, this could be sprint, half, full, Olympic, whatever, your first, your 20th, whatever it is, the amount of mental and emotional exhaustion that an athlete puts themselves in the weeks leading up to their big race is just insane. And the unfortunate part is like there's so much like a recipe for like emotional mental disaster is that when you couple tapering with / more free time, which leads to more wasted, worthless time on Facebook, internet, chat groups talking about how the course profile was 9,000 feet and not the 2,000 feet, and that they have to have this cassette and these tires, or there's no way they're going to make it up this hill. No way. You're just not going to make it. You have to walk. And it's like, so you combine all that together, and like when you're supposed to be getting physically fresh and mentally and emotionally fresh to take on a race that is all things mentally, emotionally, and physically, you are only recuperating physically, and you're totally not taking the time to refresh yourself mentally and emotionally in what is going to be, because what's going to be asked of you on race day physically, in my opinion, is nothing to what is going to be asked of you mentally and emotionally. Because I think any athlete, and I have examples of this, hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of examples from athletes that I've worked with over the years, that what trumps? I feel great from the neck down, but you get home from work and you're super stressed out, you're not going to train. Period.
Mm-hmm.
In the story. It has nothing to do with you physically, does it? No. You are mentally and emotionally in what you have to give, versus you don't feel that great physically, you feel kind of sluggish, but your mind and your emotions, and you got sleep and you feel good, guess what you're going to do? You're going to go give it a whirl. And the people don't like take that into context of how they should approach the last 2, 3, even 4 weeks of their main race, is to just disconnect if you need to. But I mean, and some athletes can do a very good job of disconnecting, from participating in online chatter and all that kind of crap, and not leaving it or whatever. But it's most people can't. It just causes more questions, comments, and concerns. And so while they feel like they're healing, physically, they're just not being as busy. And it's just there's an mental, emotional toll that takes on people. But you said it, just like relax, like just relax. Like triathletes are the kings of turning 2.5 days into 2.5 weeks. like I had to have that conversation yesterday. I'm like, you missed 2 days. Like just over 50 something hours ago, you did a 100-mile ride, and now you're acting like all is lost.
Yeah.
But it's you have that feeling, and I just had to be like, listen, calm the F down. You've got 2.5 weeks to order some nutrition from Amazon. Like I can usually get on to like stock up nutrition. Like I can get on my bike for a long train ride, order it on Prime, and have it before my ride's over with. So let's just chill out for a minute.
Yeah.
We've got time, but that's
that.
why I'm always for just tuning things out, and if you're not very good at just like being mindless, you know, like with yourself, and your mind and your thoughts are going to go elsewhere, that's usually negative. That's why, you know, as I say all the time, like find a Netflix show or Amazon Prime or a DVR or something and just binge watch something just to like prevent your mind from going to places that we don't need it to go.
Yeah, because I mean, I have a thing I try to do all the time. It's when if I do 100-mile ride, and if it feels good, and then if I miss 2 days or whatever the case may be, because there seems to be a thing in triathlon too that we fear that we forget how to do something if we don't do it for a few days. You know, like whether it be swimming or, you know, I remember leading into a race once, and I think I had to, for whatever reason, took like 3 or 4 days off of swimming, and I was like, man, I just feel like I forgot how to swim or whatever. So I try to cement the good memory of a solid workout, and then on the backside of that, before I go into my next bike, after 3 days off or whatever the case is, I always try to remember that I probably won't, you know, my body will be like, what the hell is going on for the first 5 miles or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
And because, you know how it goes. You go out, you feel like you're in a super running shape, and then you go out and the first mile is just aches, pains, and like weakness and all this stuff going through your head, and you're like, man, I can't run a mile right now. And then all of a sudden, you know, 3 miles later, you're feeling outstanding. You know, it's that sort of like getting over into the next workout and getting over the hump of the beginning of the next workout, and then things start coming together. You know, it's sort of like just blind faith in a lot of ways sometimes. And you can't, you know, that's one of those times when being in the moment can kind of freak you out.
Well, I mean, what you said about the run is like a huge component about just like finding a way. Mm-hmm. You know, like in like there was a run I did like maybe 3 weeks ago. I did a long ride that day. And then I was running much later in the day, and I'm really trying to get into, you know, like that, and that's why it's such a great thing to practice. And even though athletes hate to practice like running slower, it's not about running slower. It's about, you know, we joked at like the very first words of the podcast about, you know, simulation, race day simulation. Well, I can easily tell you how your first 3 miles of your Ironman run are going to go. They're going to feel weird, and they're not going to feel that great. But I'm almost going to guarantee you that by miles like 4 and 6, they're going to feel like a million times better. And so for athletes that have like, I usually do like once athletes get into like a longer rides and get closer to race, like I'm not a gigantic fan of brick runs, but I'll have them do, you know, a long ride in the morning, and then I'll put like, you know, 30 to 40, maybe even 50-minute run in the PM. You know, so giving yourself 6 to 8 hours to recover a little bit, get some recovery to make sure you recover from your ride. But what happens is it also gives your legs a little bit of time to like kind of harden up, you know, and kind of get stiff. Like if, you know, some of these athletes have done like 3 to 4 hour, maybe even 5 hour rides. And so, but what happens is if I had to like shove like a 30-minute run afterwards, what does everybody do coming off the bike? Always.
They go after it.
Yeah, they go after it. And they run way too fast. And a lot of times it's just without even noticing because of the cadence you've had on the bike, and then you hop off and do it on the run. We're like, whoa, whoa, whoa. Like my legs are trying to like run away from my body. And so they end up running way faster than they should have. Therefore, so that's not race day simulation, because you're not going to run that fast for a while. It's just causing you to be more sore and going to be harder for you to recuperate down the road. But what happens is if you do something that's like, you know, do a hard ride in the morning and then you run later in the evening, you get to recover from the ride, rest up a little bit, make sure you're fueled and ready for the run. But then, yeah, your legs are going to kind of stiffen up, harden up a little bit. But I did this run, again, it was like, I think like maybe 3 weeks ago, and it was a 15-minute run, and I was like, you know what, I'm going to treat this like Like I'm gonna really try to keep focusing on like my how I want to approach my Ironman run.
Mm-hmm.
And those first 3 miles, I just wanted to be a total conservative, total systems check. It should always be a systems check. And you should not believe what your legs are telling you. Nothing. Everything that your legs tell you the first 3 miles of the Ironman run are a total complete lie. They're either telling you they're either telling you they feel incredible and you're about to run like a 7-minute pace for the whole 26 miles, or they're telling you you're never going to find your legs, you're going to walk the whole time. There's really no in between. They're just going to tell you something. It's usually a total lie. And so it's just great to give yourself time. So I gave myself 3 miles and I was running, I think like 8:25s, 8:30s, which is for where I'm at is fairly conservative, more like really, really low zone 2, zone 1. But I felt god awful. I was like, man, I might just like pack it in. And I was like, but I'm going to keep, I know this is how I'm going to feel. I know what's coming. And then after like 3 miles, like almost instantly, and it's not just like a 3 mile like cutoff. Sometimes it takes longer, sometimes a little bit shorter. But after 3 miles, like after a good 24, 25 minutes, finally my body was like, okay, I'm loosened up. Blood's getting to where it's supposed to go. My legs have loosened up. And the same effort I was giving for those 3 miles with my legs, the last 3 turned into like, I think 740, 740 something, and 730. And I felt like a whole new person.
Mm-hmm.
But it's about, like you said, it's like sometimes knowing what to expect is like a good and a bad thing. But you got to learn from it and be like, you know what? I know that I should just ease into it, do a system check, understand that kind of like more than whatever my body is telling me now is probably going to be much, much, much different than what it's going to tell me in 30 minutes. And you talked about this, on multiple occasions. Like one of the best pieces of advice that you got, I think, was from Will Emery. Is like, whatever your body is telling you, it's about to change. Or it's like, your body is going to go, it's going to have great times and bad times. Just keep going because it's always going to change. And that's just so true in training and in life too. So,
mm-hmm. Well, that's not even a bad principle to attack all your runs with, at least for me. I mean, I'm thinking like, whatever the first 3 miles of a 26, what is that, about 10% or something? Mm-hmm. To treat your first 10% of your run as kind of a systems check in a way, just to get in that habit, I think isn't bad. I've been talking about, I talked to Ross last night for a while, and I was telling him my first 3 miles roughly are going to be all about getting cold, trying to get my body cold as possible, cool down as, and basically metaphorically not even sweating for the first 3 miles. I mean, just because, like you said, I want to get to a place where I know that I'm just, I'm sort of decompressed from the bike and I'm easing into my run without, any kind of warning to my, body. And spending time with ice early, even though you might not think you need it. Just there's so many things that first 3 miles can set you up for in such a great way, I think. And a lot of times we just sort of like overlook it, like it's just a fast transition or something back into the next sport.
And it comes down to so many other things we talk about. It's patience.
Mm-hmm.
Patience with, and understanding that not, and I know we've talked this ad nauseum too, like a couple other things, but it's like, never get too high, never get too down. Never in the same thing, like especially with like long course racing, is like never attach yourself to the, I feel so terrible or I feel so great, because guess what? It's probably about to change.
Yeah.
And more likely it's just going to feel okay and kind of is what it is. But it's just that it's understanding that and being aware of that and knowing that it's, like it's not. It's like it's going to be okay. You just have to keep going,
Mm-hmm.
and it will change. Until the last 2 to 3 miles of whatever event you're doing. Then it's just like then you just accept it for what it is, and you just do the best you can to do to get done and get finished and get it over with.
Yeah.
But up until that point, don't attach yourself to, don't turn feelings into outcomes or outcomes into feelings. And we just have, and most people in general, that's life and work and relationships is like it's hard to detach yourselves from outcomes and not have that be a part of your identity. Or the identity, even of not even just like long-term identity, but like the identity you take on at the moment.
Yeah.
The identity of your attitude and your emotions or your mentality. It's the same thing as like you could go back from like, oh well, I finished in this and I failed or I succeeded, so I'm a success, and that's my identity. I'm a 5-time Ironman at 10:30 sub finisher and whatever, and that's your identity. Or when you break it down into like its finer point or finer aspects, it's the same. It's no different than a training run.
No.
You see the pace you see your pace on your watch or on your Garmin or whatever it is, and you see that, and you tell yourself a story, and you're telling. It could be a good story, it could be a bad story, but it's based around your specific identity at that moment, and how you correlate back to how you feel about yourself. Is it good or is it bad or is it neither? Instead of just like it just kind of is what it is. And like, don't be so quick to attach yourself to every damn thing that's out there. And like but people love doing it. I'm this, I'm that, I'm this. Like, okay, well, congrats. Like, everybody does it with their diet and with their, religion and politics and training and races. It's like just don't be so quick to attach yourself to and brand yourself based on like a just something that's so arbitrary, like a time or a pace
Or emotion.
and an emotion that's totally fleeting. Like like imagine if that's like, if everybody had to change their like Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, whatever profile every time they had a different thought or emotion about themselves that was like their identity. Well, I mean, they wouldn't do it if it was negative, but like don't be so quick to judge yourself any second of the day, but also like the culmination of something. Like you have to, and it's so hard, and I don't think, and no one's perfect. Of it. Like, there's some days I feel like a champion, the other days I feel like a god awful loser at what I'm doing. It's just, that's what it is. But I'm neither.
Yeah.
I'm neither of those things. But like one of the lines my wife and I always use that her dad always uses this, not every day has to be fancy. But we always make it like the greatest day ever or the worst day ever. But 99.9% of the times, it's just is what it is.
Yeah.
It's just a day. And, understanding that and not attaching yourself, that I think allows for different opportunities within that thought process and that feeling for you to grow and feel better and move on and just become better in general about handling the up and down.
Mm-hmm. Basically, don't believe anything.
Yeah, exactly.
You said that about last night in my training run. How many different feelings I had about that? Just
That's right.
an hour and 15-minute easy run, basically. And one of the things I try to do, because I have been practicing patience so hard and holding back, because that is my MO through mile 18 or 20. Is just find a place that I can kind of feel good about holding. More or less, I feel like, I can start slow and let it creep down a little bit, but I'm more interested in, just getting to that point in the race and letting it fly. So, but what I have a little exercise too is, when I am trying to keep, wear my watch and keep myself from going too fast, if I do look over and, of course I've been doing the 10-17 thing, but sometimes if I'm just running by feel and I kind of glance over and I see what I'm at and it feels too fast, first thing I do is purposely slow down.
Hmm.
Like if I feel good and I feel like I'm running well, I'll just back it down just a little bit because, I know how I am, and feeling good at this pace means feeling good at another pace, and then I can it starts snowballing. Then at some point I'm going to crack. So
Yeah.
I know if I feel good, I'm going to naturally just pick it up a little bit. You know what I mean?
Right.
That's the thing, is like, if you're at a comfortable pace and it's going well and your body's like, yeah, all right, let's go a little bit, it'll just naturally pick up.
Mm-hmm.
So I always force on slowing down when I'm feeling good. And it's, I don't, I'm not racing to win or anything, either. So, but there's time and a place for those, that interval training when you're kind of pushing yourself and everything like that. But if you're not pushing yourself, don't push yourself.
Yep.
Let it happen.
Exactly. And it happens all the time.
Mm-hmm.
It happens all the time.
Mm-hmm.
But you brought up something that I think's gonna become even more and more prominent as we get like closer to races that fall within like the seasonal change area.
Mm-hmm.
Is just another huge reason to have athletes, in my opinion, more calibrated on feel than pace. Because as we joke about this, and is like we're getting close to that, like that time, like I said, like there is no greater performance enhancer than a change in temperature.
Yeah.
And we're getting to that point. I mean, I don't know if you've been outside yet today, but like, hello, fall. I know it's not here to stay, but it's just like a glimmer of hope. Like the high here in Nashville is only like 82 today, and the low was like 60. Like I went outside, and dare I say, I was chilly.
Yeah.
And so like you go outside at like 2:00 2 weeks ago, and you're running like 9-minute miles, and it feels like steady zone 2, and then you head out there on this morning, and it's so much cooler, and you're doing like 8 minutes. Does that mean you're wrong? No, it doesn't. It just means it's easier to freaking breathe.
Mm-hmm.
And your body's not having to like use so much of its energy to dissipate heat and make sure you're taking care of yourself. And the dew point isn't, 75 and oppressive. It's like in the 50s. So like that's another reason, like when you sometimes athletes during this like seasonal transition find it time like, oh, I was going too fast today, but it felt easy. Okay, so tell me again what you were doing. It's like, I read that comment like, I think I went too fast today, but it just felt really good and really easy. Okay, well then good job. Like it's just, it's, but we're having that tick right now. And so when you get to races, like the ones we have coming up, Wisconsin, Chattanooga, Louisville, all that fall within like, a month, and you're getting into, anytime you get into September and October, you're hopefully going to get some kind of break here and there with the weather and with some more of the changing of the seasons. And that's also like a time where it's so crucial to just trust your feel and turn off your watch and then just take what it is when you're done, and not think, oh, that felt like super easy, but it was way too fast. Your body begs to differ. And you're basically just judging your current performance again off a past attachment to this is what I can do. And so it's just one of those things where you gotta, but it's listen, there is nothing more fun than that first, like, and it's been that way, I know, here in Nashville the last 48 hours in a couple of the places in the country, and it's just like you see athletes pace just like totally drop with nothing different, just total ease. Is just, that's what temperature, dew point, humidity, that's what it can do to you. But on the flip side, that's also why we've been having you run 4 to 5 days a week for the last 4 months. It's because, especially when you hop into these cooler climates, you're going to feel like an absolute freaking champion. Mm-hmm. You might not feel it during the training, but when it's time, and it's going to feel great. And there's nothing better than like 50s and 60s right now.
Yeah. That's one thing I've definitely been keeping in mind too with my slow running, is that, while my 10-minute pace isn't like super exciting. I know that I'm running 10-minute pace at 2 o'clock in the afternoon at, 90 plus degrees with sunshine, so that matters. I know that that's going to pay off in the exact way you're saying. I think that's huge. I mean, you can just tell, like, I've been trying to run more lately too in my, regular shorts, but just like a tri-kit top.
Yeah.
Just to get that feeling. And there's like
cotton T-shirt underneath.
Yeah, I'm not going there yet. I mean, that's
right,
just in the cooler months.
Just checking.
But yeah, I'll put that on. Little hoodie's gonna start popping out. But it matters because like I can tell like sometimes I'll just strip that thing down and wrap it around my waist, and the minute you do that, it's unbelievable how much better you feel. When you have just a cool wind hitting your skin versus that hot top on, and that's like it's just unbelievable. So a drop in 20 degrees or something, and I realize that I'm racing in October in Louisville, and it'll most likely be not higher than 70 something. Chattanooga.
Don't jinx it. Chuck Knuth is racing Louisville.
Oh, that's right.
So it's either going to be 100 or 40. So prepare for all things.
That's right. I'm going against the Chuck jinx.
Prepare for all things.
I'm excited. I like that I like that. People ask me all the time. It's like, too bad that weather last year. I like the weather. It was a challenge, Last year it was windy. It was kind of cold.
You got all of the seasons.
Yeah, it was interesting. It had not. People are like, well, it could have been. I mean, conditions matter for sure, but I wasn't, in the best shape for that race. I mean, I think the weather would have had very little impact. Plus, I think I might have, I did learn that I might start a little bit earlier on the swim because, I think just the natural weather patterns, typically when wind picks up, the later it gets in the morning, right? Is that just kind of how it goes sometimes?
Yeah, that's usually how it goes. Yeah.
Yeah. So, that could have got me. I definitely think the wind bit me a little bit on the last 40 miles of that bike for sure. But anyway. And speaking of, can we throw a quick? Nah, it's too late. I was going to throw some, like, how can we calm our minds about diet too? I mean, that seems to be a hot topic lately. And
yeah, we may have to. That's probably going to be a whole different podcast. That's a whole huge bag of worms. That we can just talk about that on Monday. But yeah, we got a lot of great feedback and comments in a poll we did about how often athletes weigh themselves and what they do and how they do it. And I think it's just an interesting, study in athlete and human psychology. Again, there's
a lot of parallels to what we were talking about, I think. There
are. I mean, and it's the same as that. It's a lot of times it's just not
fancy.
It's not, but it's not always indicative of performance, but just like everything else when we equate numbers, again, like we attach ourselves, it's the exact same. Yeah, you're right. It's like you attach yourself to like a number on the scale, just like you attach yourself to a power on the bike or a pace, in the swim or, the miles you can do on your run. You attach that and it becomes your identity, whether it's, fast or slow or skinny or fat or whatever it is. Like you attach yourself to it when a lot of times it's just meaningless, or it should be. I wouldn't say it's meaningless because it's not, but I would say that it should hopefully hold like a different kind of meaning in terms of, if you took all those things away, like at your greatest core of like what your identity should be, like none of that should come into play. None of it. None of the adjectives or adverbs you use to describe yourself or your actions or who you are, like none of those would come into play. But yet they come into play when you're training and doing whatever on like a daily, sometimes hourly basis. And it's just that it's in my opinion, it's like the healthy kind of disassociation. Like that's because I tell you, like I would be interesting to see like the differences on an athlete's perception of themselves when they go out for a run in the morning and they crush it, best run ever. And then the very next morning, with no real changes, they weigh in and they're like 3 pounds, quote unquote, heavier than their race weight.
Mm-hmm.
The different dynamics that play and mentally and emotionally about how they see themselves when 24 hours, nothing has changed. But yet, what they read and what they submit themselves to can totally wipe that away. I just say it's definitely a much longer discussion than we have time for today, but one I definitely want to get into. I think it's both fascinating and helpful, but as we had some other people weigh in and chime in the group, and that's again one of the things I love most about our group is they're always so open and honest about the good and the bad. Is sharing some of their stories of how unhealthy that can and usually is for most people.
Mm-hmm. So what else is cooking today? You done with your workouts?
No, man, dude. Check this out. We slept in till 5:50 this morning.
Oh.
Which, for you new listeners, is about 50 minutes to an hour later than usual. Like, Allie had to pull the old, hey, we got to get up and get going thing. I was like, what? What time is it? Because I don't ever look at my phone until it's like up. And we actually had to wake Hayden up. He was out cold in his little truck bed, getting ready for school today. But yeah, because they leave the house at 6:25 to get him to daycare and her to work on time. But yeah, so I'm like, I got a late start today because I woke up at 10 till 6. So I'm just now getting around some things. So I'm gonna hop on the bike here in a little bit, try to crush some more of the Americans. I'm on season. I should be able to cap out the rest of season 4 today. At least Galagos and I are racing to see who can finish the Americans faster. She is negative splitting the hell out of it, and she might catch me. I think I was like midway through season 2 when I suggested it to her, and she's already on season 4. She's just like biting at my heels. So,
oh man!
But she's got it made. Not only does she just train a crap ton, even while she's pregnant, but she's also pregnant. So she's got extra time, and she's taking extra time to make sure she's taking care of herself, and on the bike trainer a ton, and probably even watching her on the treadmill some. So she has all access all the day. So, but if you're listening, Elise, this may be one of the only times I beat you, but I'm gonna get you, and I'm gonna finish that Americans before you do.
You're gonna put it down today, you think?
No. I got a whole other season.
Oh, jeez.
But there's like a happy. Again, I don't want to attach myself to an outcome, but I'd be kind of bummed when it's over because I got to find something else serious, especially as we kind of get close to non-Netflix stuff. But no, I won't even finish season 4 today. I still got season 5 to go, so I'm still in a good spot. I'm in T2 with the Americans.
Okay. Well, you'll be done just in time to pick up the Ozark.
Yeah, dude, I gotta hop on Ozark. That's on my list.
So that's only season 1 out, and season 2 comes out at the end of the month. So you might be perfect timing for that.
Good. I'm all for that.
Hopefully you like it.
Yeah. Well,
I need to find something too. So if anybody's got any ideas, that could help me.
Yeah, email them in. That's it. If you have any questions or comments or concerns or just general feedback about how great or how terrible we are, you can always email Mike at crushingiron@gmail.com or me, c26coach@gmail.com, and please feel free to give us a rating on iTunes, comment or non-comment. Either way is fine, but we prefer the comments because we can actually see where we're going with it. Because let's be honest, when you only do the star 1 to 5 and don't leave a comment, we don't really know what you're feeling. It's kind of like the ... of ratings.
A little bit.
Just take an extra step. And then if you want more information on what we do, as a whole, you can always go to crushingiron.com, and we have more information on training camps, swim analysis, gear, coaching and training packages, our blog, tribute videos, you name it, we got it there. Visit that, and good luck to everybody continuing on their journey. It's late in the year. And
we got a lot of people. I did that poll. A lot of people are going to be showing up.
So I'm excited to see everyone at all the races, and keep up the good work. And if we can help in any way, let us know.
Already 32 people are racing Louisville in our group. We're getting about 30-ish new people in the closed group a week. So come on in there. If you're not in there, search Crushing Iron Group on Facebook and we'll let you in. Mm-hmm. And you can see what everybody's talking about. It's not a lot of, I don't know.
You don't know what?
Well, like how you're saying, people can get obsessed with the races and overload with information of mindless stuff, and how, there's a new pothole on the corner of Bardstown Road that you need to be careful of because it could really wreck your race, or whatever. There's not a lot of that. I haven't seen. Have you?
It better not be. I'll freaking delete it. Yeah, don't worry. I've deleted some posts before if they don't fall within what I feel like the parameters of our group and culture should be. I'll delete the heck out of them.
That's just sort of this ethereal parameters and culture. We don't really have but I guess it's just all the tone that is set by podcasts like this one.
That's right.
We kind of like that because most people that come into the group are podcast listeners, so they kind of have a gist of the potential rant-setting posts.
Yeah. So we're having we I think, we have, that's the great thing. We have a ton of new and also really, really experienced athletes, and even the ones that are beginners as well, like have a new, like they're really, really good at giving good insight and thought process, and I always think that's enjoyable because everybody has a point of view, and I think when you can take everyone's point of view, it tends to work out well. So but yeah, it's a good group to be in. Just make sure you don't post anything stupid or arrogant or worthless, and I won't delete it.
All right.
Yeah, that's all I got.
That's it. All right. Well, I'm going to go get my first in a series of pre-race massages here in a little bit.
Oh, enjoy.
I am going to enjoy.
Enjoy, man.
I'll be sore afterwards, actually.
Yeah.
But I'm not going to let that create my character or define my character if I'm sore after a massage. Man, I was feeling so good until I had that massage. Now I don't know if I can finish.
You'll be fine.
All right. Thanks, Coach.
You're welcome. I'll talk to you later.
Sounds good, man. Have a great day, everybody.
You too. Happy endings.
Bye-bye.